Welcome to WoMaster. In this tutorial, we want to show you how to configure the metering and subring configuration on the web management. Maybe one question may arise in your mind that why to attach the subring to metering and why not just create one metering in order to expand. So there is a simple reason about it. If we want to create a complex topology through ERPS, metering and subring is the better idea in that case. And now, this is the topology that we use to create ERPS ring. So in this tutorial, we use 4 devices of managed switch to create metering and subring. For the basic configuration, don't forget to set different IP address for each devices. And for the metering and subring, they must have their own RPL owner. So for the metering, we set device A as the RPL owner. And for the subring, we set device D as the RPL owner. And of course, they also have their own blocking port. After we finish configure the ERPS setting, we need to assign all of the ports to VLAN to make sure if we send package to the correct ports. For the metering, we assign all of the ports to VLAN 2. And for the subring, we assign all of the ports to VLAN 3. To allow subring to send any kind of packages through ERPS ring, we also need to assign some ports to VLAN 4. So now let's go to the web management page to configure the metering and subring. To create ERPS dual ring with metering and subring, the first thing that we need to do is we need to configure the metering first before we attach the subring. Based on the topology that we have, metering consists of 3 devices, device A, B, and C. Let's just start configure device A first. At the ring ID, we choose ID 11. Remember, the node role from device A should be RPL owner. And because of all the ports for the metering we assign to VLAN 2, we choose the control channel for 2. And then for the ring port 0 and ring port 1, we choose 1 and 2. Then enable it. And don't forget to set the ERPS timer setting for the wait to recovery timer. From the RPL owner should be 1 for the fast recovery. So the ring configuration for device A is already activated. Let's configure device B and device C. For device B is also the same configuration. At ring ID here, and remember that the node role should be in ring node and the control channel should be 2. But the ring port 0 and ring port 1 that we use is port 3 and port 4. Then enable it. Now let's go to device C. Device C is also the same. At the ring ID, then set it as ring node, control channel should be 2, and the ring port 0 should be 5, and ring port 1 should be 6, and enable it. So now the metering is already activated. Let's go to configure the subring. For the subring, it uses also 3 devices based on the topology: device B, C, and D. For the subring, device D is the RPL owner. So now let's just start from device B. we add another ring ID for subring. And remember, the node rule should be ring node, because the subring we assign all of the ports to VLAN 3, so the control channel here should be 3. And then for the ring port 0, because in subring we just use one port, we set it to 1. And then for the ring port 1, we set it to none. Then enable it. Now let's go to device C. Add another ring ID here. It's also the same. The node should be ring node, and the control channel should be 3. And we just use one port here, in port 0. So we set the ring port 1 to none, and ring port 0 to 1, and enable it. Now let's go to the RPL owner, device D. Add the ring ID, and set the node rule to RPL owner, and the control channel should be 3. And the ring port 0 and ring port 1, based on topology, we use port 1 and port 2. So let's just enable it. Don't forget to change the wait to recovery timer to 1 for the fast recovery timer. And now the ERPS setting configuration is already finished. After we finish ERPS setting configuration for the majoring and subring, the last thing that we need to do is we need to assign all of the ports to the VLAN, because we want to make sure that all the packets send to the correct ports. Let's see, from the device A management, we assign them to VLAN 2 and VLAN 4. In device B, we already assigned them to VLAN 2, 3, and 4. And also for device C, and then the last is for device D. After we assign all of the ports to the correct VLAN, so the flow from all of the packages will be correct. So right now, let's just check the ring status from the majoring and subring when there's a ring failure and when there's a ring recovery session. To check the majoring and subring status when there's a ring failure or recovery session, I would like to do two cases here by disconnect one port from the majoring and one port from the subring. Let's check this out. So now let's check the majoring status when there is no ring failure. As you can see here that device A is the RPL owner, and the status is still normal, idle, and it also has one blocking port for ring port 1. Let's see the other device. As you can see here, it's still normal. For the first case, let's just disconnect one port from the majoring, from device A, port 1. After disconnect one port from device A, which is port 1, to port 3 from device B, as you can see here that the ring LED status changed to orange. Then the node states here changed to protection, and also the blocking port moved to ring port 0, where the port failure is placed. Let's see from device B. You can see here that the ring LED status is also orange. Then for the majoring, the node state is protection. Then the blocking port is on ring port 0. and the subring here is still normal working. And from T5C, for the measuring, the node state is protection, and the subring is still idle. And also from T5C, the status should be idle. And also you can see here that the ring failure in the measuring did not affect the subring. So now for the second case, let's disconnect one port from device D, which is port 1, that link to port 1 from device B. As you can see here, that the ring LED status for the device D is changed to orange. And let's check the ERPS status here. Because of the ring failure, the node state is changed to the protection. And also the blocking port moved from ring port 1 to ring port 0, where the port failure is established. Let's see the other status from device B and device C for the subring. This one is from device C. You can see here the node state is changed to protection. From device B, it's also changed to protection state, and the ring port 0 have the blocking port, where the port failure is established. After we check the status for the measuring and the subring when there is a ring failure, now let's just fix all of the connection from the measuring and the subring. After we fix the connection, as you can see here that the ring LED status changed to green. And let's check the ERPS status for the measuring. You can see here that the node state is changed to pending when they are waiting for the wait recovery timer from the RPL owner changed to expire. Let's see the second device. You can see here that the measuring and the subring status changed to pending, and also the ring LED status changed to green. The third device also changed to pending status, and for the RPL owner of the subring, also pending, and it also waiting for the recovery timer to change to expire. So now let's just check the status from the measuring and the subring when the wait to recovery timer is expired. So you can see here that the wait to recovery timer is expired, and also the node state from device D is changed to idle, and then the blocking port is moved to the ring port 1. Let's check the others. It's idle. And also the measuring and subring is idle. And here also is idle, and the blocking port is moved to ring port 1. So you can see here that the measuring and subring is working normally.